Hello friends, it's Nancy from Astrology and Angel Mediums, and today I have a weekly check-in reading for the week of Sunday, March 29th through Saturday, April 3rd, I believe. It'll be, I'll have to look again. I'll put the right dates on the description. So I'm going to be using the Spacious Tarot today, and let's just kind of see what this week has in store for us as a collective. So very first thing is going to be, what do we need to know? So we have the Eight of Cups. All right, what do we need to do? We have the Three of Cups. What do we need to release? We have the High Priestess reversed. And then finally, what do we need to contemplate this week? We have the Guardian of Swords reversed. So let's kind of get into what is going on this week. So very first thing, with what do we need to know? We have the Eight of Cups. Now, to me, this can be representative of us feeling like we're ready to emotionally move on. We're ready to kind of let go and kind of release something that has been maybe holding us back, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a connection, whether it's, intuitive feelings of, I'm ready to kind of like move into the next thing. I don't want to keep hanging on and holding on to the same things that I have been so far. And I think with, things kind of moving into Aries, a lot of us are kind of feeling the sense of like, I'm ready to just kind of go to the next thing, like see what comes next. I don't want to keep hanging on to things like I have, because they're not really making sense for me as an individual and like what I really want and need for myself. So I think that this week, with what we need to know, is that it's okay for us to move on. And we don't have to keep hanging on to what it is that we've been doing or how we've been doing it. Especially if we've been having like this sense of, we want to kind of open ourselves up to the possibility of what comes next. So I think that there's a lot of this sense of, let's kind of get ourselves together, let's kind of move on, let's kind of get to the next thing, and and really focus on like what it is that makes us happy, and move away or kind of let go of whatever we've been hanging on to that really doesn't make sense for how we feel and what we want for ourselves. Now, next to that, with what we need to do, is the Three of Cups, which is a card of celebrations, of coming together, of sharing the love that we have. And so I think, especially with everything that's been going on, a lot of us are kind of forgetting about community and connection and trying to kind of prioritize these things in the sense of, let us come together, let us figure out the things that we value and what makes the most sense to us. Having the Three of Cups, I feel it's a reminder that we get to kind of actively choose how and why we're showing up in different ways. This isn't a time to allow ourselves to be kind of distracted by what isn't kind of happening or working out, especially having the Eight of Cups beforehand, where it's kind of saying that we got to let go, we got to kind of move on. This week may still feel very emotional, and it's okay, because it's almost saying like, this is a time to come into community and find the people that get you, like kind of, again, share the love, whether that's, coming together with the people that, support you and love you, maybe making space to find that in your day-to-day life. So I think that this week will be one where we're wanting to kind of come together. And I know like, we're going to have Easter next week, or the following week. So that's typically a time where a lot of people start to kind of come back together. We've had spring, kind of begin. A lot of us are wanting to kind of come out of our shells a little bit. So I think that this is going to be a great week to start kind of planning to come together and connecting with those that, really see us for who we are. Another thing with this is that we also have the full moon in Libra this week on April 1st. So that would be Wednesday, I believe. So it would be through Saturday the 4th then. So on the first, we will have, at the beginning of April, and then we also have this Libra full moon, which is a great time to look at what sort of things are in balance and how we feel about it as individuals. A lot of us have maybe been going kind of back and forth with what we want to focus on, with what we want to do, what it means for us. So this is going to be a great time to kind of prioritize our sense of truth and really look at what that means for us as individuals and how that affects the people around us. Now, with what we need to release, we have the High Priestess reversed. Now, the High Priestess is typically indicative of this like intuitive, dreamy, like having to trust kind of energy. This being reversed is that maybe a lot of us haven't been leaning into the intuitive aspects of what we're picking up on, what we're feeling. Maybe we're not listening to our dreams. And so maybe this is kind of saying we need to release maybe this sense of, I need to know what it is before I can kind of get out there and do it. And I feel like so many of us like wait until something is like perfect before we kind of get out there and do something about it, right? Or we feel like, oh, I don't want to be bad at something before I start. And the thing is that sometimes we just have to kind of try, whether we know what we're doing or not, and just allow ourselves that grace to kind of grow as we learn more, as we figure it out, as we, kind of show up for ourselves in different ways. So I think the High Priestess is here to kind of say, we got to kind of release a sense of knowing where this is going to lead or how it's going to lead us, as well as really having an understanding of like what we want to do with this energy and what we're going to do with it. So I think with the High Priestess, we have an opportunity and an invitation to kind of say, all right, I may not know everything and I may not really see what's coming next, but this is an opportunity for me to kind of lean into this energy a little bit more. And I think it's interesting because the High Priestess is also very much to me about like the moon phases. And so I think that maybe this week is going to be one where like we may feel like, yes, we know the full moon is happening, but we may not have a lot of opportunity to really like do what we want to do with it. And maybe it's kind of saying like, hey, release that. Don't feel like you have to have it all figured out and have it look a certain way. All right, so with what we need to contemplate is going to be the Guardian of Swords reverse. So this is typically going to be the Queen of Swords reverse. Now with what we need to contemplate is that maybe we've been too focused on our truth, our sense of justice, our sense of power. And so we're not quite seeing like where we've been going too hard at certain things. And so maybe we've been trying to cut away from certain things too quickly. So maybe we need to just kind of contemplate what this means for us. Like, what is our sense of truth? Like, what is it that we're willing to fight for? What is it that really speaks to us? And this isn't a time to perhaps maybe not be so quick to cut people off, to, be too surgical in the sense of being too precise about like getting away from certain situations and things. It's more of, kind of opening ourselves up to the possibility that there is something here. Maybe there's a message that we've been missing. Maybe there's something that we're not really listening to in some way, or there are some thoughts and some, mental like energy that we need to kind of focus on a little bit more. And so we're just not seeing things quite so clearly. I know we're still in the shadow period of Mercury retrograde. It's been, I don't know for you, for me, it's been a little bit of a doozy. I feel like I can't talk. And I've had a lot of issues with like technology and things like that. So again, our messages may not be coming through quite as clearly as we want. We may not be seeing and saying things quite as clearly as we want. We have, like Uranus is like, in like the final degrees of Taurus. And so we're getting a lot of this kind of like, I don't really know what's going on, a lot of shakeups energetically. So just pay attention to what you have going on and what that means for you as an individual. So I do want to pull a couple cards from the Mystic Rebel Oracle deck. I've been feeling the vibes of this one, maybe because Zoe is an Aries, and so I'm like, I gotta pull some cards from her deck. So let's see. All right, so stand your ground. I think that is a fantastic energy to kind of look at for this week is, are we really paying attention to who we are, what we want, what we need? I feel like that's why we have this 8 of Cups and this 3 of Cups to kind of say like, hey, we got to walk away from the stuff that doesn't make sense. And we need to focus on what we actually want and what that means for us as individuals. And one more, we have, move through fear. I think the High Priestess reverse and the Queen of Swords reverse is maybe where we need to kind of focus on this move through fear energy. Is we need to stand our ground. We need to move through fear. Maybe a lot of us are kind of in the transition kind of period where we're wanting to really pay attention to what comes next, what we really value, what we really want. And so we're kind of getting a little bit of this like invitation to show up and say, I'm done. I don't want to keep doing it the way I have been. It doesn't make sense for me as an individual. So I really hope that you enjoyed this quicker reading this week. I hope that the full moon treats you well, that you're doing something that you love, and that you're showing up for yourself in ways that you value and that make sense for you. So thank you so much. Please take care, stay safe, and as always, make good choices. Bye.